This is a stimulus check update and daily news report. Looks like there's a little more behind the scenes drama when it comes to Joe Manchin and the Build Back Better bloc. Joe Manchin says that there was some negative information leaked by the White House about Joe Manchin, which is why Joe Manchin hit back at the White House. I'll give you more details about that and play you a video clip. AOC is bashing Joe Manchin along with the other Democrats, but Senator Chuck Schumer is vowing that a vote is going to happen in 2022. I'll give you the Republican perspective as well. I'll go over the latest stimulus check articles like this. Qualifying Americans can still apply for stimulus checks worth $500. See if you're eligible. I'll also give you the latest universal basic income and guaranteed income programs in 33 cities and states. Stay tuned for that to see if it's in your city, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on in the video, but first, Manchin hits back at White House pressure on Biden plan. So there's a little more behind this story that we didn't know, and there's still some mystery to it. So what Joe Manchin said is, well, guess what? He said, they figured, surely to God, we can move one person. We surely can badger and beat one person up. Surely we can get enough protesters to make that person uncomfortable enough that they'll just say, okay, I'll vote for anything. Then he says, well, guess what? I'm from West Virginia. I'm not from where they're from. They could just beat the living crap out of people and think they'll be submissive, period. Then he goes on to say, they know the real reason of what happened. It's staff driven. I understand it's staff. It is not the president. This is staff. And they drove some things. They put some things out. They were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is. So Joe Manchin saying that the staff leaked some negative information. The White House staff knows what it is. Joe Manchin knows what it is, but not making it public. So it looks like there was maybe some manipulation or some bribery or not bribery, extortion, something like that behind the scenes. We're not getting the full picture, but I'm going to play a video clip later on giving a little more details on that. Also, Chuck Schumer vows to get something done on Biden plan. Well, you know, Chuck Schumer's been vowing to get something done for 5.5 months, but I guess meaning that he's not going to give up. So Chuck Schumer said he wants every senator to have the opportunity to make their position known on the Senate floor, not just television, saying we are going to vote on a revised version of the House-passed Build Back Better Act, and we will keep voting until we get something done. So voting on it and trying to get something done all sounds great, but really it just depends on Joe Manchin. So next up, I'm going to play a video clip more of what Chuck Schumer said and a big overview and summary of what is going on.
Okay, the White House and top Democrats say they are not giving up on President Biden's Build Back Better plan after Senator Joe Manchin single-handedly derailed the thing. Democrats say he said one thing and did another thing, and they're coming for him hard now. Representative Pramila Jayapal chairs the Progressive Caucus. She said in the last hour over on CNN, you can't trust Joe Manchin and that he'll have to answer to the American people. The Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, vowing to still move forward with a vote on social spending package next year. He wants them on record. The House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, says she is not deterred at all by Senator Manchin's announcement.
This will happen, it must happen, and we will do it as soon as we can. I have confidence that Senator Manchin cares about our country and that at some point, very soon, we can take up the legislation.
He's a no. It sounds pretty definitive. In a radio interview yesterday, Senator Manchin blamed the breakdown in negotiations on the White House staff, but he didn't get into details. Listen.
This is not the president, it's the staff. And they drove some things and they put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is, and that's it.
We got to fight. If Democrats hope to pass the Build Back Better bill without any Republican support, they'll need all 50 Democratic senators, including Joe Manchin, who's a hard no. NBC's Sahil Kapoor now. Sahil, you know, it's so crazy to see this reality where this is done. Unless they do something, this is done. And yet they just talk around it like, oh, here we go. I don't understand it.
Shep, the bill currently does not have a pulse, and Democrats are scrambling to find some way, any way, to revive a version of it that reflects the original project. Now, there is some sort of a roadmap that Joe Manchin floated that could potentially include some of these programs on a significant level. That would mean funding them over a 10-year basis. That is his red line. He is not interested in provisions that expire over 1 or 2 or 3 years to lower the sticker price, when in reality, the actual cost would be much greater. There is a path to doing a package that includes universal pre-K, healthcare funding, subsidies for clean energy to combat climate change that are funded. Democrats have enough money to do that. So the question is whether Democrats are willing to make the painful sacrifices to win Joe Manchin's vote, because right now he is a Congress of one. They don't have a path to get this done without him. And there is some ray of hope in the fact that last night, according to 2 sources telling NBC News, that Joe Manchin spoke to President Biden hours after that very high-profile blow-up. It was described as a cordial call, and it was understood that the two will speak again. They could revive negotiations again after some rest and relaxation over the holidays, but the tension's going to have to subside. Everyone's going to have to cool their jets before this can legitimately come back together. Some programs, like the child tax credit, for instance, and paid leave, are almost certain to be removed from this bill because they simply don't have the money to get it done. One confidant of Joe Manchin, a friend and confidant of Joe Manchin I spoke to several hours ago, said the man does not hold grudges. This is not going to be about relationships, Shep. It'll be about policy, whether they get it done or not.
It started to sound kind of personal. I mean, a lot of them starting to sound personal, including Joe Manchin.
It did certainly for a while. But the thing about Joe Manchin, as well as Joe Biden, based on what we know, is that they have a tendency not to hold grudges, and they have a tendency to get past these things. Whether they can ultimately come together and get a bill done that can hold the rest of the Democratic Party together remains to be seen. Jeff.
This really is starting to turn into a big soap opera as more drama is boiling up in the pot, stirring over. I'll keep you updated. There's so much news coming out on this, like on an hourly basis. Also, AOC Ocasio-Cortez says Democrats need to crack down on Old Boys Club in the Senate. Here is more of what AOC says about that and Joe Manchin. Take a look at this.
We've been gauging the reaction and analyzing this all morning long. Let's turn now to Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Thank you so much for being with us.
Congresswoman, thanks for being with us. Last time we talked, we discussed how patient progressives had been throughout this entire process. That patience didn't pay off yesterday. What's your reaction?
Well, I think what Senator Manchin did yesterday represents such an egregious breach of the trust of the president. And it's also, this is exactly why it's an outcome that we had warned about well over a month ago, about needing to plan a contingency plan for it. It's why we insisted on having the bipartisan infrastructure plan coupled and passed together with the Build Back Better Act. But I think right now we are at a juncture where it's not really about, I think, being angry. I mean, of course, we have every right to be furious with Joe Manchin, but it's really up to leadership in the Democratic Party who, made the decision to get us to this juncture and how we're going to move forward. And I think right now that Democratic leadership has a very large number of tools at their disposal, the president particularly, and it's really about time that, we take the kid gloves off and we start using them to govern for working families in this country.
Well, Congresswoman, you said yesterday that you were not upset with Joe Manchin as much as you were with Democratic leaders. And let's, as my grandmother from Dalton, Georgia, used to say, let's just take the rag off the churn. That starts with the President of the United States, doesn't it? He's the one who shook hands with Joe Manchin. They said they had an agreement on a $1.75 trillion bill, and the president told you all that you could trust him. He could bring Joe Manchin along. How do you work with the White House moving forward?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, when we were in negotiations, originally the entire country's infrastructure plan was in one bill. And this bill could be passed with all Democratic votes. It was a decision to separate these two bills and just break apart one part which was this quote unquote bipartisan infrastructure plan that has a lot of fossil fuel subsidy giveaways, of which Manchin is a known ally of the fossil fuel industry, and then separate the extension of child tax credits, separate the real actions that are going to protect us from climate climate change into the Build Back Better Act. Now, when that decision to separate and to advance the bipartisan infrastructure bill happened, some of us took umbrage with that, and the president did say that that the that the Build Back Better Act was promised, and that he's got it. And we said, with respect to the president, no one can really promise a Manchin vote. And so we need to really figure out what the solution is, because at the end of the day, when the clock strikes midnight on New Year's, we are talking about millions of families in the United States having their child tax credits expire. The president made the announcement just this past week that he does not have an intention on extending the student loan deadline. And both of these things, in addition to the untenable situation of voting rights in this country, all three of these things are completely unacceptable. And so what we really need to do is, I think, is have folks that really, our leadership needs to step up. And I think that we can do that. I do not believe that the situation is beyond repair, but it's going to take a different kind of thinking to get out of it than it did to get into it.
There definitely is some shadiness when it comes to the Senate and Congress in general, kind of a black box. We don't know what's going on there, and it just seems like we just hear about a lot of the corruption of what we hear. Let me know your thoughts on that. Should things change in the Senate? Should their paychecks be withheld unless something positive is done? Should we clean the slate and get a bunch of new people in there? Let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. And as usual, I like to give the Republican perspective of what's going on, keep it balanced, both Democrat and Republican perspective. So here is what the Republicans are saying, also talking a little more about the details of what happened to Joe Manchin and maybe like some negative information that was leaked about him. Take a look at this.
The White House, the media, and the far left are now all going after Senator Joe Manchin, blasting his character, painting him as duplicitous, and even calling him a threat to the future of democracy. Wow. All this after the moderate Democrat definitively came out against the president's massive social spending plan. Here's what he told Fox News Sunday.
I've always said this, Brett. If I can't go home and explain it to the people of West Virginia, I can't vote for it. And I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no on this legislation. I have tried everything I know to do.
And just like that, Joe Biden's agenda sidelined. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kaylee McEnany at Turning Point USA's America Fest in Phoenix, Arizona. My co-host Harris Faulkner is in our New York studio, along with the host of Kennedy on Fox Business Kennedy, Fox Nation host Tommy Lahren, and in the center virtual seat, Fox News radio host, Fox News contributor, and political Guy Benson. Well, while Manchin said his decision came after months of trying to reach some sort of compromise on the bill, the White House claimed it was taken by surprise. Press Secretary Jen Psaki slamming Manchin for his, quote, sudden and inexplicable reversal on Build Back Better, while adding that they will now push him to keep his word. But the far left is going even further and slamming Manchin. Take a listen.
I think what Senator Manchin did yesterday represents such an egregious breach of the trust of the president. And it's also, this is exactly why it's an outcome that we had warned about.
I mean, we all knew that Senator Manchin couldn't be trusted. The excuses that he just made, I think, are a complete bull.
We cannot allow one lone senator from West Virginia to obstruct the president's agenda, to obstruct the people's agenda.
I hope that we will bring a strong bill to the floor of the Senate as soon as we can and let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to powerful special interests.
Man, Harris, so the White House calling it sudden and inexplicable, but maybe they haven't been paying attention. There's this July 28th letter, we'll pop it up on the screen, between Schumer and Manchin, where Manchin very clearly says, you can see at the top of the letter, top line, $1.5 trillion. We always knew his number. And at the bottom of the letter, before the signatures, is Senator Manchin does not guarantee that he will vote for the final reconciliation legislation if it exceeds the conditions outlined in this agreement. So they knew this back in July. Yeah, and recently, Guy Benson, just in the last hour or so, we have a new clip out from Joe Manchin on Metro News. He points the blame at someone very specific. Let's take a listen.
Well, the bottom line is there's basically, and it's staff. It's staff driven. I understand staff. It's not the president. It's the staff. And they drove some things and they put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is, and that's it.
The staff, Guy Benson, not the president.
Might be the press secretary that he's referring to. That statement that she put out was blistering, and I would say somewhat shocking, actually.
And the plot thickens as more information comes out. I'll keep you updated more of what's going on. But next, let's get into the stimulus check news here. So qualifying Americans can still apply for stimulus checks worth $500, see if you're eligible. So this is still going on in St. Louis. I mentioned this application started open on Saturday to get $500 checks. Basically, you have to live in St. Louis and be a resident there at least 12 months, have a low income, and then you could qualify for the $500 stimulus check going on in St. Louis. Next, I'm going to go over the 33 basic and guaranteed income programs in a bunch of cities. So I'm going to try to go through this as fast as I can, give you a roundup all these different programs, basically giving out monthly checks and no strings attached to it. So let's go over that. All right, Compton, California, $1,800 every 3 months for 2 years. That is for 800 participants. Tacoma, Washington, this is $500 every month for 1 year for 110 participants. Then we have Stockton, California, $500 every month for 2 years for 125 participants. Then we have Alaska, which just gives out a permanent fund. This has nothing really to do with stimulus, but it's going to give around $2,000 per person, 2015 to $800 in years with lower gas prices. That's for just Alaska residents. Then we have North Carolina Cherokee Tribe is getting $4,000 to $6,000 per year for every tribal member of the Cherokee Tribe. Then we have Oakland, California, giving $500 per month for 18 months for 600 participants. Then we have Richmond, Virginia, giving $500 per month for 1 year for 55 participants. Columbia, South Carolina is $500 per month for 1 year to 100 fathers in collaboration with community resource group Midland Fatherhood Coalition. Shreveport, Louisiana, giving up to $600 per month for 1 year to 100 single parents or legal guardians of school-aged children. In Ulster County, New York, $500 per month, 1 year for 100 participants. Santa Fe, New Mexico, $400 per month for 1 year for 100 community college students. Then we have Sacramento, California, $300 per month for 24 months for 100 participants. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, $500 per month for 2 years for 200 people. Alexandria, Virginia, $500 every month for 24 months. Hudson, New York, $500 per month for 5 years for only 25 people. Peterson, New Jersey, $400 per month for 1 year. Newark, New Jersey, bi-weekly payments of $250 and semi-annual payments of $3,000 over a 2-year period. Jackson, Mississippi, $1,000 per month for 1 year to 110 low-income African-American mothers. St. Paul, Minnesota, $500 per month for 18 months for 150 people. Lynn, Massachusetts, $400 per month to new moms for a child's first 3 years. Then we have Cambridge, Massachusetts, $500 per month for 18 months for 120 people. Chelsea, Massachusetts, between $200 and $400 per month for 2,040 people. Then Gary, Indiana, $500 per month for 1 year. Gainesville, Florida, $1,000 and then $600 per month for 11 months for 115 formerly incarcerated people. Santa Clara County, California, up to $1,000 per month for 2,400 and 2,500 young adults transitioning out of foster care. Marin County, California, 125 women of color raising at least one child under the age of 18. That's $1,000 per month for 2 years. South San Francisco, California, $500 per month for 12 months. Los Angeles, California, $1,204 per month for 3 years. And then another Los Angeles one, $1,000 per month for 1 year for around 3,000 people. Providence, Rhode Island, $500 every month for 1 year for 110 people. Then we have Long Beach, California, $500 per month for 1 year. California in general, up to $1,000 per month for former foster youth and qualifying pregnant people. San Francisco, another San Francisco one, $500 per month for 18 months for 600 people, and that is it. So as you can see, there's a ton of different cities and states giving out their own universal basic income or guaranteed income programs. So as more of those come out, I'll keep you updated. That is all the stimulus news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I tell you the one thing they should do. When you make something dirty, you have to clean it up, or ask someone to help you. Like, if you made something like really dirty, you have to clean it up.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, I'm giving out $200 to my subscribers. You have to be subscribed to this channel plus my other 2 channels. I'll have details to that down in the description below. Also, if you want to check out my latest video on my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.